Welcome to Kaks Bar and Podcast, Canada's first podcast bar. What that means is you can come here for food, you can come here for drinks, you can also come here and record a podcast. Come on down, we're located in downtown Calgary, Alberta in the Beltline area. See you soon. And we're rolling. I'm here today with a very special guest, Brandon Chase. I met Brandon about maybe like a month ago, I think.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Brandon's he's a survivor. He's gone through some stuff. We're here today to talk about his story. Brandon brought with him Pam Davis, his mother, and we got John Doyle, who's a paramedic for Stars Ambulance. Short version, little quick summary. Brandon was in a terrible car accident from a drunk driver. He basically, from what you told me, Brandon, you were like short version, you were almost decapitated, like yeah. straight, to the
pretty
point.
Much, yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna get you guys to kind of just kind of tell the people about that night. Kind of like, and Brandon, kind of let's give the backstory a little bit of that fateful day. And I have so many questions afterwards.
Sounds good. So on January 7, 2015, my life changed. I got a ride with a driver who had been drinking. Yep. And almost cost me my life.
Which road was this, and what time-ish? I'm just kind of trying to...
6 o'clock, I think, at a paintballing.
At 6 o'clock in the evening? Like 6 p.m.?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, 5. Okay. I don't remember that day because all that lead up to that was a month before that. I was completely gone. Mm-hmm. But I was a drunk driver offered me a ride. Drunk driver offered me a ride, and I got ride with him. I didn't know any better, and I got ride with him, and then we did a U-turn to avoid a car crash or something ahead of us. Traffic was at standstill. We did a U-turn. And once we did a U-turn, illegal U-turn. Mm-hmm. And an SUV traveling 100 kilometers an hour hit me on my passenger side.
Right now, I'm just going to re-summarize my understanding. So, Brandon, you had a big night that night. You got into a car with this drunk driver. Did you know the guy, or
no? First off, I met the guy.
Were you partying? Like, what was
bachelor party?
Okay. So, like, basically, like a wild night that got out of hand, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So you got in a car with this guy you didn't know. He took an illegal U-turn. He was also hammered, and you're this whole time. Like, would you say you like how were you hammered? Were you drunk?
Probably was. It was bachelor party, right?
Yeah.
But I don't remember that day at all, right?
Right. Yeah. So your memory ceases from this entire event. This is all third party accounts now in your memory of what happened. Okay. Pam, you're like they've told their story a few times, but going over this, I mean, the side of you must be kind of like, Brandon, what were you thinking to even like get in a car with somebody you didn't even know? First of all, like, like who's drunk at a party? Like, were you a bit taken back? Yeah, I mean, like when you're like in hindsight now, like, I mean,
well, it was an afternoon call, event, I should say, and the boys were at a paintball outing, and again, as Brandon said, it was a bachelor party.
Yes,
and at about 10:30 Newfoundland time, 11 o'clock at night, we received a phone call. And we didn't answer our phone at first because we had just started summer holidays, and a call came from Bernie's son, Brandon's stepbrother. And we just said, we'll call Jason back later. And we didn't acknowledge the call. And within a matter of minutes, my phone was ringing, Bernie's cell phone was ringing, my daughter was FaceTiming us from Australia, and of course, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
So took the call, called Jason back, and he told us that they had a terrible car crash on the highway. Brandon was being airlifted by Stars to Foothills Hospital, and the news he gave me was, it's not good. It doesn't look good. He was very upset, of course. And I was very distraught because being all the way on the other side of the country, we didn't have, we couldn't be there.
Yeah, keep going.
And so anyways, this we pretty much booked our trip as quickly as we could, made some calls, and were able to get out not until the following morning. And fortunately, I had friends here who were at the hospital waiting for Brandon once he arrived at the hospital. And basically they kept us informed up until the point where we got on the plane. And then once we were in the air, it was the longest flight of my life.
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine. Keep going.
So then by the time we arrived, which was probably 11 o'clock Alberta time, this is now the following day, that the accident crash happened on a Saturday evening. We arrived Sunday at around 11 o'clock, and as soon as I got off the plane, well, before we actually got on the plane, I spoke to a surgeon from the Foothills Hospital who had just gotten out of taking Brandon into the OR.
Yeah.
And he'd just gotten out, and he said that things did not look good. He said his condition was grave. He likely, he didn't know if he would survive or not, but that the cards were pretty much stacked against him.
Yeah.
And then we had to get on the plane and fly.
Yeah.
And I remember on that flight, I cried pretty much the whole way. I was so stressed out.
Yeah.
And one of the flight attendants, she just happened to notice me. I guess she couldn't help. She took me aside and just wanted to know if everything was okay, if there was anything she could do. I filled her in a little bit. She offered to call the Foothills Hospital to get an update on Brandon's condition, and I said no, I just couldn't be on this plane if I knew that he wasn't good. So I said I'll wait till we get there.
Mm-hmm.
So we arrived, and two of my friends were waiting at the gate to meet us, and I knew when I got there by their expressions that he was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the Foothills Hospital, and we stayed in the family room there for 2 days, pretty much, with supported by friends and getting regular updates from the doctors. But when those first couple of days, we really did not think he was going to survive.
Talk. When people talk about they've gone through a lot of stress, like no, that this is some other. I mean, your cortisol levels must have been just 24/7 shot up to the roof. I can only imagine. Like it's almost like a bad nightmare, but it not ending feeling wise, like nonstop. I mean, had you ever even experienced kind of anything like that emotionally, like in anything like?
Well, not to that extent, my own son, but we did have a very serious. We had the death of a young child in our family a couple of years prior to Brandon's car crash.
Okay.
And I had that same type of feeling at that time. I remember that. So yes, but with regards to it, being my own son in this situation, of course, it was again another dimension of that awful feeling.
Yeah. John Doyle. How introducing John Doyle again? So John, tell us about your experience with this entire scenario here.
Yeah, we were working at STARS that day. Maggie was the flight nurse. I was the paramedic, and we had a resident with us. It's actually Dr. Crook that was with us, and we flew out just west of Cochrane on 1A. And when we were dispatched and requested by ground EMS, we know we're going for something severe. So as we approached the scene, we were orbiting over, and I just saw that this vehicle had been T-boned, and there was just catastrophic impact where Brandon was sitting. But we knew whoever was sitting there was either dead or critical condition. By the time we got there, it was about a 7-minute flight out. They had Brandon extricated and in the back of an ambulance. And then that's kind of where we went in. And as Pam stated, he was in grave condition. He was unconscious. He had massive chest injuries. He had a bunch of things going against him. He had a traumatic brain injury. And complicating that, he was hypotensive, low blood pressure, and he was hypoxic.
What's hypoxic?
Hypoxic is low oxygen saturation.
Okay.
They were having problems ventilating Brandon because he had massive chest injuries and pneumothorax, collapsed lungs. And so EMS had put in like mini chest tubes. They put needles into his chest to try relieve the pressure in his chest.
Sorry, quick question. Like, you're the only one injured? Like the drunk driver wasn't injured at all? And
he's the one we were focusing on. So there was, it was a big scene. There was RCMP, there was police, there was fire.
Mm-hmm.
When we landed, we were directed to the Cochrane EMS ambulance.
Okay.
So I can't speak to the other injuries.
Yeah.
We were there for Brandon.
Yeah. Okay.
So we went in the back and we assumed care.
Yeah.
And it was our priority to get him to the Foothills, which is a level 1 trauma center.
So it's kind of like they're like, hey, like handle Brandon, like everyone else will do whatever else.
Can go by ground.
Right. Okay.
We can occasionally take 2 patients, but then that means we have to ditch our doctor and we have to reconfigure.
Right.
And Brandon was definitely the most critical.
Yeah.
That was triaged before we got there. So it was all eyes on Brandon.
John, is this the first time you've had to deal with something like that in your career? Okay,
No.
so you've seen this, not this exact, but you've seen other crazy situations
For sure. And I think,
so you're like the man for the job then, like it wasn't like your first rodeo in a weird way. Like
it wasn't my first day on the job. I had been there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming up on 30 years at Stars.
Oh wow!
And 1,000 missions. So definitely a critical patient. We loaded Brandon in the helicopter. He had a cardiac arrest on us on the rooftop at the Foothills Hospital, and the doctor actually put a hole in Brandon's chest called a finger thoracotomy and released pressure in his chest right now because we had lost pulses, and right on the rooftop. It was just amazing. And as soon as he did that, we could start getting air back into Brandon. So we handed over care to the Foothills trauma team, nurses, doctors, respiratory therapists, X-ray techs. It was a big collaborative effort. On the way back to the airport, we just didn't really think that Brandon had a very good chance.
Mm.
The odds, I certainly didn't expect to see him, come back a year later standing and talking.
Yeah.
And visiting me at a helicopter, we just, it's kind of black and white medical, and this guy was in trouble.
Yeah. And
so I was kind of expecting to maybe hear that he didn't make it because his injuries were so grave. But I think that also speaks to the, his willpower and the love of the family and, all the team that took care of him after we dropped him off. Like I was only with Brandon probably 25 minutes, 10 minutes in the back of the ambulance, 7-minute flight to the foot, maybe 7 or 8 minutes to get down and hand him over. And then we were on our way back to the base.
Man, this is so crazy for me because I'm absorbing your story, Brandon, and but I've never even come close to seeing anything like that in real life, right? So right now I'm trying to use my life experience and imagination per se, but right now I'm I don't know, this is like super intense for me too, just listening to this. But Brandon, I gotta ask, like, you have no memory, no nothing. Like, do you recall any feeling, or you're just completely unconscious? Like it's like your last memories, you're playing paintball, because you're drinking, right?
I don't remember the paintball actually.
Oh, okay.
Last thing I remember was damp proving back in May. I still had that backpack.
Yeah.
For the companies to work for. And Elvis, black guy named Elvis. Last thing I remember from my car crash. That was about a month before my car crash.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
That was great. I don't remember that. I don't remember, right? Thank God I don't remember that what happened, because it'd be scary and
So there was no. Okay, so again, maybe I'm being too literal in me trying to perceive this. It's your last memory is what it is, and then it's just darkness until you open your eyes and you're in a hospital bed, kind of like. And this like.
My last memories was I was working damp proofing. Eventually outside houses, when tar on insulation kind of thing.
Yeah.
After that, I woke up hospital bed.
Yeah. When you first woke up, did you? I'm I'm just curious, like, because right, you're alive. We're glad. Obviously, everyone's glad, and Pam, like super strong of you to go through that, and John, I mean, just great, great work, and right now I guess I have some curiosity with like the consciousness, right? I mean, because you basically survived death. That's the way I'm perceiving it, and you hear people talk about surviving death, and then some will say, "Hey, I saw a light" or something. I mean, like, you had no, like, what was your experience, man? Like, did you, like, can you take anything away from understanding more or less how your consciousness came back into, this realm? Like, do you know what I'm asking? Like, you basically survived death, so people. You're more suited now to talk about what you think happens after you die, or if that's even something on your mind sometimes. Do you kind of get what I'm asking? Or
I asked you to see a light. I asked you if I saw a light.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
I just saw my mom in the corner saying, I'm in the corner, and I woke up. I'm like, I could barely speak. I could barely move my body, like, or anything at all, and I barely talk.
Did you know who you were and stuff?
I know I was.
Like right away, you're like, you weren't completely like, who am I? What's going on? Like,
I knew I was. Mom reminded me all over again, but it's like, I'm very grateful that I have memory came back. Actually, you know what? Memory came back at a time, right? At a time, like, Mom used to tell me stories, and I remember that now. It was like Christmas all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's memories of family with kids, or my grandma parents, or you name it, right? So I'm very grateful that God, I have when I came back, especially after what I've been through, and it's crazy, right? Like, what happened to me? I got pretty much got decapitated.
Mm-hmm.
Scars here, like, mantle dislocation, very serious injury, and thanks to those guys, to John, not paralyzed, right? Because if they move me the wrong way, John and Dennis Moon, I'll be paralyzed for sure, right? So I'm very grateful that I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
What's the question again?
No. It's my question is not exactly answerable. I'm just fascinated with your first person account as to when your consciousness ceased and then you're back. That in between, right? Yeah. Because technically, my understanding is that you essentially died, right? And came back, and I'm just curious. You're like, that's something you're gonna have to be. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you continue. What did you say?
I was trying to say, like, going forward, when you start to think about this, as many years pass by, you're like, don't you just wonder about existence, kind of like, because you actually.
It's like, crazy. It's crazy that I'm alive. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, what's your what do you feel about all this?
My first memory was I woke up and Mom was right there. Just happy I'm alive. After what you've been through, after what I've been through, just happy I'm alive. Right, joy day by day.
Interesting. So you're just consumed with gratitude every moment, every day.
Yeah. I thank my mom, dad, pretty much for every day, pretty much for everything. Like, I'm so grateful to be alive. Before I was grateful, I was happy and all that stuff. But now I have a purpose in life now, right? Mm-hmm. A story to tell.
Yeah,
it's different now, right? I matured a lot since my car crash. I matured a lot. But yeah, it's
Would you say you willed yourself to stay alive in any capacity? Like,
I guess I guess you say that, because
you know what I mean.
You have the will, because I was in the hospital bed. I moved to my body, right? I didn't tell myself to give up, right? I didn't tell myself to commit suicide. I tell myself to do that. I kept working.
Yeah.
And no one.
So you're literally like talking to yourself in your mind, like we'll get through this. We'll make a full recovery. Like I have a whole life to live.
Because I trained martial arts before.
Yeah, myself as well. Like so it's like
I did rugby. I went for rugby again. I did like sports, so I kept pushing. And no one told me that no one told me that I couldn't walk. I just kept pushing, and now I'm walking again. Right? Thank God for that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I do change jitsus now, and eventually rugby again. But I just kept pushing, and no one told me I couldn't walk. I'm very grateful that my spinal cord wasn't damaged.
Your left what?
My spinal cord.
Oh, your spinal cord. Yeah. Because that would have been. Pam. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ms. Brandon, with regards to his spinal cord, he was saying one of his injuries was atlanto-occipital dislocation.
Okay.
That's basically where the ligaments are separated from the head.
So that's kind of like the decapitation.
So what happens there, if he had been managed improperly from the very beginning, frontline people, then he would have had definitely either died or been paralyzed from his neck down. So with that particular injury, most people don't survive.
Right.
The people who do, they say 70% die on the scene.
Yes.
And of the people who do survive, most people go on and they're unable to rehabilitate. They end up being in a vegetative state. So coupled with his brain injuries, he had several areas where he had bleeds into his brain. That particular atlanto-occipital dislocation, when I met with the intensivist, one of the intensivists told me, do not expect Brandon to do well out of this. If he does survive, he will likely be only in a vegetative state and will have to be, will be put in a long-term care center somewhere if he survives. So this is what I walked out of this room with. Fortunately, I had a friend there. She was also a healthcare person. And when I walked out of this room, absolutely distraught, she said, I won't say the doctor's name, was so-and-so being his usual positive self? And I said, it's just, beyond with tears. And she said, don't worry. They don't know us. Those words stuck with me. They don't know us. And Brandon, you asked about determination and will.
Yeah.
I've never seen so much determination and will in my life. So from the time he awakened, he had his goals set on running. I was very, of course, I thought, okay, well, let's just take this one day at a time. He kept saying to me, Mom, I want to run. I want to run. And I never thought that was possible. And then one day, fast forward now about a little over 2 years later.
How long was the recovery time total?
He was in Foothills Hospital for 8 months.
8 months, okay.
First three weeks he was in a coma.
Yeah.
Then he was semi-conscious, so non-responsive, but his eyes were open and he was, we didn't know if he knew where he was, who he was, or anything. That lasted for several more weeks.
And at this time, your body's probably atrophied.
Oh,
in
totally.
So many
He was
ways,
134 pounds on a 6'5" frame.
Yeah.
So that was his car crash was in June. In August, he started to show signs that he was actually, in there. And from then, he started to become more aware of his, where he was, who he was. And actually, he couldn't speak, he couldn't move in the early days. But once we realized that he was in there and he was aware, things started to really speed up. He became more, they started getting him out of bed and doing rehabilitation, passive in the beginning, but then he amazed us. He amazed everybody with how he started to, come around. So then he was moved to they were getting ready actually to transfer him to long-term care when he started to awaken. And then within a couple of weeks, the healthcare team decided to transfer him to the acute rehab center in the Foothills Hospital on Unit 58?
58, yeah.
58. So he moved there in September. So that's 3 months post-car crash, end of September, beginning of October. He stayed there until February. At that point, he was learning how to crawl, eat, speak, learning to do everything all over again. And then in February of 2016, they transferred him to the Halvard Johnson Brain Injury Rehab Center,
Mm.
where he remained. That's a residential rehab center, and he stayed there for 14 months.
Mm.
So he was pretty much in hospital for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
in an institution. And from there, once they finished his rehab, where he did learn how to walk and he's made huge strides. Halvard Johnson, they do. It's a multidisciplinary approach to rehabilitation. So they had an education, rehab, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, cognitive therapy, speech therapy, and psychology, of course. Following that, he was transferred into a supportive living house in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
That was in April of 2017, and he's been there pretty much since.
Okay. John, so at this point, how'd you hear that he was doing well again? Like, well, not well, but because like, were you kind of like, okay, well, I'll probably never hear from him again, kind of thing, and then later on, you're like, oh, he's walking, he's like,
Yeah, I mean, as Pam mentioned, he basically had a hangman's fracture, right? C1, C2, not good.
Yeah.
Every chart that we do, every mission we do, it's reviewed by our peers and it's reviewed by our transport physician. So, like every other flight I've been on, we were given 2 or 3 weeks after the call, we were just given kind of a black and white peer review and a quick summary. Brandon remains unconscious at the Foothills Hospital with a brain injury. And they just basically a list of his injuries. And we didn't think, that he would be, so first of all, survive. And then second, he'd probably be long-term care,
Right.
At the Fanning Center or something like that.
Mm.
So fast forward to 2016, we have a term at STARS called VIP, very important patient. And the crew that was involved that day was all notified by email, hey, there's a VIP that, and their family want to come see you at base. So this is basically the gold nuggets I get for working at STARS. I occasionally get to meet family that will come back and see us. There's not always a happy ending because we're going out for critical people. But, when I retire from STARS, I'll remember the VIPs.
Yeah.
And so Maggie and I were there at base, and we were we went and looked at Brandon's chart again before he came. And it was just like, I was shocked to see him standing.
Yeah.
I was shocked to hear that he could talk. And then that's when I first got to meet Pam and family. And I think you had a friend there as well.
Yes.
But it's, our jaws dropped when we saw him. I kind of expected.
Is this the most miraculous recovery based on your career that you've seen, or is there even another, like, other ones up there too?
No, I would say Brandon. Like I said, we thought he was either going to die, or just be, unfortunately, in a vegetative state at the Fanning Center. But I mean, I think it speaks to resilience, right? Brandon's not going to be told he can't do something.
Yeah.
And that's what pushed him, because not all people, if another person had the exact same injury, maybe they don't do as well as Brandon, because they don't have the family support, they don't have the determination, they don't have the drive.
Right.
Maybe they just give up and they accept the wheelchair, and they don't try to talk. And so it's amazing how the brain can rewire.
Right.
For sure. But no, I've met, I keep in touch with the gal I was working in Manitoba on Star 7, and I kept in touch with the gal that broke her neck. She was out quadding, and, so she was a VIP, and just, it's very rewarding to see people come back. And, some people want to come back for closure. Some people come and visit us and they don't want to see the helicopter. They just want to see the hands that touch them. So remarkable, and I don't think, if you believe in God, I don't think God was done with Brandon yet, because Brandon's mission now is to go out and talk to people.
Yes.
And I've seen him at Flames games telling a story. I've seen him at the Stampede Parade telling his story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen him in parks,
Mhm.
Canada Day, Princess Island, telling his story.
Yes.
And so he is. I think he's, he's got his purpose has changed.
Yeah.
And he's on a mission.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we're here today as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're definitely continuing to live your life. I mean, because I was talking to Pam about. It's actually funny. I don't know if he's still here right now. Justin Starkle. He's actually in here right now. Yeah, he's just having lunch. Like, so if he's still around, I'm gonna introduce you to because I had a previous guest on the podcast as well. Justin got hit by the C train in 2014, and no offense, bro, but he was also just drinking that night. He literally was playing. He told his friends that he can, like the train's coming, that he can jump past it like a stunt man, and he did not jump past it, and he got hit, and he was in a coma too and everything, and but a brain injury as well, and it's just kind of weird cosmic timing. Like I did not ask him to come down today, and he just now he's like here at lunch, and I'm like you're never gonna guess who my guest is today, and before I have questions about your life now going forward, but okay, you told me a kind of semi-funny story, but I was only chuckling because I'm a big Conor McGregor fan, and so are you. But like what happened at court? Like you took legal action, right? Like against a drunk driver. Is that what happened? Okay, and then
I attacked him in court. Mom,
so I'm going to move the mic closer to your face.
Mom, doesn't like when I mention this. At one bit, I attacked him in court. I bought a weapon of choice. I have a gun or a knife. I bought the weapon of choice 3 times. His mom kept throwing the weapon of choice in the garbage on me, right? So I bought another pair. Third time's a charm, right? Third time's a charm. I bought another pair of Victoria's Secret women's underwear.
Yeah.
And I attacked him right between the eyes. right between the eyes, the red panties.
Yeah.
Red panties. I attacked him. I send him. I attacked him, and he almost killed me. After you, and I went like this.
Yeah.
And right between the eyes.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
And it was to symbolize that, hey, I'm alive, and I'm also like I'm not going to be like I still have a whole life to live. You know, like
from
winning the court case, essentially.
I didn't want to go to jail. If I shot him or knifed him, I'll go to jail, right? I thought that would be quick and painless if I shot him with panties instead. No jail time, no nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You thought that I was going to attack him at first because he was laughing. He was laughing at me at first, like, oh, he's going to shoot me or knife me. But nope, red panties right between the eyes. And he was heartbroken, actually. I didn't shoot him. He wished I did.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that because that'd be stupid, right? Like,
you got a second chance in life. You don't want to, let your anger turn you into throwing away your freedom for that.
And I do comedy. I do comedy as well.
Yeah. I'm going to plug your comedy on the show notes there. And we do comedy night here on Thursdays, by the way, Brandon. I should put you in touch with our comedy producer and get you on doing the set. What happened to the drunk driver? Is he?
I don't care. He's a loser. He got 9 days on weekends. That's all he got. 9 days on weekends in prison time.
Yeah.
That's all he got. And red panties between the eyes. That's all he got.
Yeah.
Red panties and 9 days on weekends.
Just moving along here from that, when that chapter finally was done, and I guess, Pam, you resumed some kind of normalcy in your life. What made you decide to start doing stand-up? Were you always kind of into all that stuff, or did you decide, you know what, I'm going to make the most of my life now, I'm going to do what I love, just constantly doing things I love, like jiu-jitsu and then stand-up?
I did that because I have a condition called instant ambition out of my car crash. My mom said, I say things while thinking. Sometimes I get me in trouble. Sometimes that's funny. Sometimes it isn't funny. I just go I went for it, right? And I do it again. This time again, and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real fun, right? That was fun.
Is that what you do now to fill your time? You just pursue stand-up
I
comedy?
haven't done it in a while. That's why I did stand up with Newfoundland actually at a pub called Peter Easton's Pub.
Okay.
Shout out Chris Coates.
Mhm.
That's the owner of the bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna do stand up again. I do stand up soon actually. Is it every Thursday or Wednesday here?
Yeah, we do every Thursday here. Yeah, I'll put you in touch with Caitlin, our comedy producer, and
Sounds good.
yeah, get you to do a set up here. But right now, Pam, what do you like? Not that it's your choice to be like, hey, well, Brandon, you should do this with your life because you have a second chance. Like, but what do you want to see of Brandon? Or are you kind of already seeing it? Like, hey, just keep living your life, spread your message. Like, is a story about like, do we look for like a lesson from this? Maybe is kind of like, hey, like have that will to survive, or like how do you process what happened after? Do you just because how do you just go back to everything's back to normal? Okay, Brandon, like take care of yourself in Calgary. It's like
well, back
I imagine
to normal,
there's trauma there, right?
There's no such thing really, right?
Right,
It's
right.
like, I mean, one thing through this, I guess, that I was fortunate to have help from various supportive agencies during Brandon's recovery. And one of those was a caregiver support group that I attended. And the big thing I took away from that was, you have to accept your new normal. And that was a hard piece to come to terms with because, you have these goals and thoughts of what's going to happen to your child as they get older. And basically they, helped me to accept this is our new normal. So from that, going forward, I just have to let Brandon take the lead because for a long time, Brandon, as he said, he has disinhibition, which means that he doesn't necessarily always think about what he says, and he doesn't necessarily always care about the consequences. Someone may like it or they may not. He is disinhibited. So that was very difficult for a long time for me. It was very stressful trying to, first of all, protect people from things Brandon might say. Secondly, protect him from the repercussions of things he might say, or people rejecting him, or not accepting who he was. So at a certain point, I just thought, I can't control any of that. He is who he is. He's my son. I love him. I'll support him. I'll guide him. I still tell him when I think he's doing things that aren't necessarily, good things or making good choices. But from a point of view of his stand-up comedy, Brandon's always had a sense of humor. And it was very obvious during his recovery. Sometimes, especially as he was first recovering, he would say and do things in hospital that, when he wasn't necessarily even able to speak, that suddenly people were just, realizing that, he's actually making a joke here. This is humor. And it was just everywhere, everything, every situation that came about, Brandon found something funny in that situation.
And you were always like that, right?
I remember at one point, actually, I'll just tell you this little story.
Yeah.
He was in a bed in the days when he wasn't able to move, and he was being turned by the nursing staff. So one of the nursing staff said to Brandon, do you want to turn towards the window or the wall? And Brandon, in his then not very strong voice, said, window, wall. So first they said, you want to go to the window? And then he said, window, wall. And what he was doing was, that song, to the window.
To the window,
to the wall.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the song, but of course the nursing staff were young and they were cracking up. They realized, he's like singing the song.
He's rapping.
Here he is, he can't move, but he's like making a joke, So yeah, I mean.
And sorry, you always had this personality even before the accident?
You did, but less inhibited now. So it actually,
less inhibited.
it's less. He doesn't have that same inhibition that he's not shy. Basically, he'll go and approach people.
Okay.
Right, that's the disinhibition side of things there.
Okay, so yeah, you're more outgoing now because do you see life as I may as well like laugh, smile, yeah. Everything's not that bad. I survived that.
Pretty much. Yeah,
and he also works hard. I mean, Brandon has been very good at doing whatever has been recommended.
Yeah.
He'll take it on, and then even after hours from rehab, when we were together, if I encouraged him to do more of that same activity or whatever it was, he never said no. Never said no. And he could be exhausted, but he would still want to just do better, want to improve, always
Mm.
wanted to. When he was in his wheelchair, he wanted to stand up.
Mm.
When he was standing, he wanted to walk. When he was walking, he wanted to run.
Mm.
Just kept on moving forward.
Yeah. So going forward now, John, how often do you see Brandon, or is this kind of like when I rang you up, where you're like, oh wow, like another chance to see Brandon, I'm gonna come take this, or do you guys kind of like, or do you guys text all the time and keep?
Yeah, we're on.
We're BFFs.
There you go.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
a messenger.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I see him at different events. We don't plan.
Yeah.
No, he'll say, "Do you want to do a podcast?" And this is the first one we've done.
Yeah.
Or, do you want to come to a Flames practice? Or it was kind of neat how it worked out. We were on Global with Brandon, and my partner happened to be available that day. And the night before, we were contacted, and do you want to meet us at was it Edworthy Park or Stanley Park? Stanley Park.
Yes.
And so we, Brandon was
Yeah.
telling his story.
Mm.
Last Thursday, this is on a way lesser level,
Mm.
but we received a text from my son. So we have my son just got married in end of July, and
Congrats.
so his thank you. His mother-in-law, Rena, they're great people. She's an emergency physician in Brandon, and she was driving to Saskatoon, and we were just at a football game, and I got a text from Taylor, and my heart dropped. And I'll read the text to you. And right away, I thought of Brandon, and I thought of Pam and family, and I went through these emotions of anger, and then when we were able to actually make contact with Rena, who was in the accident, there was a sigh of relief. But what was disappointing to me is there's still drunk drivers out there. So I got a text from my son Taylor. A drunk driver was driving down the wrong side of the highway between Regina and Saskatoon and hit Rena head on. Rena's okay, just bumps and bruises. She's able to swerve at the last minute and get into the ditch in the middle of nowhere. Got hit on the passenger side. Marley and I are driving out right away to pick her up. We're about 100 kilometers south of Saskatoon, and we're driving back to Saskatoon safely now. So, when I saw that, of course, we left the football game. Our heart dropped. We just had that nauseous feeling in our stomach. And we have some pictures of the accident, but she's basically sideswiped. This guy was going the wrong way down the highway. There was 911 calls. The RCMP were chasing after this guy, trying to catch up to him before he killed somebody, doing 180 kilometers an hour. And so once we were able to speak to Rena, and it circled back to, we're lucky. We had a good outcome. She had some bumps and bruises. Her airbags went off. But one of the things that Rena said to us, and again, it parallels, I think, to maybe, I think Brandon's purpose in life is Rena said, I had an angel riding in the car with me. She just lost her father. And she said, God still has other plans for me to help people. And it wasn't my time, because it could have been her time, because she was pinned between a semi-tractor trailer and this guy, and she was trying to get out of the way. And if it was head on, she should have been dead. So, as a paramedic, and she's my in-law, it's still very disappointing that people choose to drink and drive.
Yeah.
And I was very angry at this guy, and maybe when he does go to court, he's probably out of jail now. And to Brandon's point, there's minimal consequences. This guy that changed Brandon's life, 9 days served on weekends. 90 days
Still.
served on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody chooses to, I want to kill somebody tonight. But we do choose to drink, and we choose not to take Uber. We choose not to, Lyft. And this guy that, that gave Brandon a ride, Brandon didn't know that he was intoxicated. Like, you would assume that somebody that's going to give you a ride is, okay to drive. And it was life changing. And I mean, we see destruction, every day. I'm a ground paramedic as well. But again, I think Brandon's job now is he works with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and he's out there with his message. and he could have easily been in long-term care, looking out the window with not able to communicate, but he didn't give up. And so his purpose now is to do these podcasts, to go on global, to spread the word, and maybe not having inhibitions allows him to spread the word. So he's that, and I think Brandon said that's his new purpose in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
sure.
amazing. You're taking this thing and doing something with it, per se, right?
And he never misses an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to MAD, he actually got involved himself, and he's a member of the survivors group. So there are people, they meet once a month, and Brandon, since he has joined that group 3.5-4 years ago, he seldom misses a meeting.
Right.
I'll tell you what happened now. I actually asked my mom and my dad, except that Bernie, to join MAD. Hey, Mom, you should join. Mom, Bernie, you should join MAD. And the mom was smiling at me like, honey, how about you join MAD?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're still alive? You join MAD.
Yeah.
I'm like, good point.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Like it makes complete sense.
My mom's awesome. She's also right. She's been the most supporter. Mom, well, thank you very much.
Yeah. The I got a quick story from. I remember this happened to me maybe it's gotta be 12 years ago, but it was wintertime. I was going south down Deerfoot, and I was I lived across town from the job I worked at. I worked at a warehouse at the time, but it was super icy out, and I remember I was in the full left lane of Deerfoot heading south near 32nd Ave Northeast, but I hit black ice and my car swerved 2 full 360s. I remember seeing a semi coming but I just kind of fell into the ditch. But I remember sitting there freaking out, and I didn't go to work that day. I just called my boss. I'm like, hey, I literally almost died just now. And I'm like, I remember being like, fuck, just freaking out, slamming the dashboard. And then my boss at the time thought, oh, here he goes making up a story not to show up to work or whatever. But I didn't care. But I remember sitting on the side. My car was in the ditch, but I drove it out after. It wasn't like my car was stuck. But I was sitting there for 20 minutes just processing, because I still right now, as you're telling your story, I was having flashbacks myself of that semi coming. I saw it. I saw the semi coming, and I remember it just went black, and I opened my eyes and I was on the side of the road. And days like that, and then stories like yours, and then it just makes me constantly wonder all the time. I don't want to make this a spiritual thing or whatever, but I absolutely believe in God because of, how can the timing of things?
Everyone's different, right? So
yeah. I don't want to make it preachy, because I'm not religious like that. I just really believe there's something, because either that or I died that day, and this is all part of the afterlife. I don't know. I have these weird, and that's why there's a reason why I have a mushroom here, is because I've taken psychedelics, mushroom trips, just for my own exploration, if you will. But I don't know, man. I've experienced some stuff off of that, and I do believe things happen for a reason. And as John said, I think God's not done with you. But also, I'm not saying, oh, God did all the work. You obviously had that will. And, as a guy that does martial arts, that's what I mean by the whole will thing is, you do jiu-jitsu. So when you're on the bottom, your will there is to figure out how to get out of that position.
Yeah.
That will part, you obviously have that in spades, right?
There's a guy that I know that trains jiu-jitsu is a priest.
Okay, yeah.
A priest, Orthodox priest.
Orthodox, yeah.
Thomas is his name. Yeah, nice guy. He's a black belt.
Yeah. Does he knows about your situation? Yeah.
Oh, he does.
Well, yeah, actually,
he's best kind.
Yeah. So he does he believe? I don't know. I'm not gonna harp on that topic anymore. It's just I definitely believe things happen for a reason, because that day with me in the semi, I'm like, what? Unless my memory of it was way off, maybe the car was way further out. But I remember the semi being I saw it and then I had a blink and I was on the side of the road, almost like some external force came down and guided my car out of the way. I don't know, but I don't know, man. It's these things are not conclusive. It's basically up to us to interpret what this means, and go from there. Really, I suppose. Like unless your gut tells you something otherwise. But
That friend of mine sent me this little inspiration in the early days of Brandon's crash, and it went something like, if something happens in your life that is unexpected, unwelcome, I think, and unwanted, consider it just might be a gift. And in the early days, I could not get my head around that and say, okay, what's the gift here? But over the years, there have been so many gifts from this, and one of them again being Brandon's ability to go out there and speak. And he's spoken to groups of people about drinking and driving. He's told his story over and over again. And I just see that as being, yes, that's a huge gift. The people he's encountered, I mean, meeting John Doyle, meeting so many wonderful people, yourself, along the way, who help him and befriend him and help him tell his story. Those are all gifts.
Mhm.
The friends we've made, there's been so many
Yeah.
amazing silver linings through this whole,
Yeah,
experience.
I absolutely believe everything happens for a reason. And when I say that, like people always take it as, oh, like you mean for the better? I mean, no, it's interconnected. Like there's, I mean, it's like it's all interconnected. I really believe that our only job is to try to be as good of a person as you can while you're going through these things that happen to you that are meant to happen per se. Like it was probably unavoidable that day that you were gonna. I bet you say you go take a time machine, 10 different parallel realities. You probably would have gotten in that car every time because maybe it was your destiny to go through that. I don't know. I really appreciate everyone coming down today. Brandon, like, I'm sure we'll podcast again like other times, and I'm gonna try to get you to the comedy show anyway here. John, great meeting you, and Pam, great meeting you as well. And obviously I'll continue to I'm gonna make some clips from this episode too, so people hear about your story. I mean, and then hopefully gives you even more opportunity to tell it, and people can draw inspiration from it. Because one thing I get out of this podcast is just like the Justin Starkle one is just when you think you've gone through stuff, well, how about you listen to these podcasts? These two as an example have gone through Justin doesn't get stressed about anything anymore, and I get the vibe you don't really get too stressed about anything anymore either. You're kind of like, whatever, like I'll figure it out, or that's the energy I feel from you anyway. Or am I wrong?
No, it's just I'm making jokes. You're right there. You're right. You're
He lets
absolutely
me
right.
stress.
Yeah, he lets you
I'm stressed. Yeah. Window to the wall, Mom. Window to the wall.
Anything else anyone want to add here? Otherwise, I'll
Thank you so much for
thanks
having
for
us. I really
thanks
appreciate
for
it.
letting
John.
Brandon tell his story.
Yeah.
And we need to get people to stop drinking and driving.
That's true.
And, it's kind of neat to see my generation of sons. There's a designated driver.
Yeah.
And there's it's becoming less and less acceptable.
Yeah.
And so there's missionaries and angels out there that are spreading the word.
Mhm.
And my career's almost over, but it would be my hope that I never go to another accident involving a drunk driver.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I'm a bar owner, so like Kaks Bar and Podcast. If you're drinking, don't drive. Like that's it. Just literally the C train's right there, and there's Ubers everywhere. Like Cowboys, casinos, taxis nonstop. So I mean, jeez.
One thing we'll add to Newfoundland. CBC Newfoundland was the first people that did my story.
Yeah.
Shout out Mullins.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have better first responders. Newfoundland, the rash bastards, they don't have that. They don't have no star in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And they should have that in Newfoundland. It'd be awesome.
They should have Stars ambulance out there.
Yeah, something similar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's like everyone should have that. It's but obviously, who knows why? Is this something to do with like government like funding or something?
Money or whatnot. It's all politics. I know how politics works, right? He knows.
Yeah.
It's money. Mostly Newfoundland doesn't have the money funding for it. Well, I see that change.
Okay. Well, no, perhaps that's something down the road you can look into and maybe help lobby for it and figure out how to get that. Because you're right, it's over in Newfoundland. You're right. If you're over there and there's no John, you know,
He would not have survived
No,
if it was not for
exactly.
stars. Yeah,
mhm.
he would not.
Okay, everyone. Yeah, again, thank you for telling the story here. Okay, and
Thank you.
yep. Bye, everyone. Okay.
But